weird. I keep thinking, like, why am I learning this? For what? It, other than one specific goal, other than overthrowing the Jews who control the narrative, you know, all of the knowledge that I have is fucking useless. And yet, such useless information is the most important information. It's so fucking strange. But it's the same thing I've been dealing with this whole time. It's like, you know, like I was telling you guys a year plus, a year ago, a year and a half ago. Well, no, we'll say I had already said it by now, a year ago. But telling you guys, if Israel doesn't do, Karen Clayton, what's up? Israel doesn't do one of these false flags by Christmas time, I'll stop talking altogether. I'll quit doing live feeds. The only thing that could have happened is what happened. Otherwise, it would have been useless. It would have been, it's strange. Like, I have such a niche thing, and that one little niche thing is the thing. And I just don't even know what to do. I feel so strange and like lost and confused and like, why is it this way? I'm 45. How much older do I have to get before I'm allowed to say something? Oh, I'm telling you now how I'm doing. How are you? Yeah, this is so weird. This is all just so fucking weird. You know, can you imagine being like, you know, you're this amazing gymnast. You're super flexible. For some reason, you can Spider-Man and shit. You're sticking the walls and flipping all over the place. And you're like, man, I sure want to compete. I'm going to put a video out and put videos out showing what I can do. That'll bring people in and will, you know, further my career, further my ability to see how good I am, test myself against other people. And it just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. I'm so confused, man. What am I supposed to do with all this information? I'm driven to find this information and learn these things. For what? What the fuck am I doing? After having read my throat, things going, what? As informed and as much as what I'm doing now makes sense to me, makes more sense because of what I've learned, it's still what, I don't know. I'm listening. I jumped on as soon as I actually got a notification, heard you talking, confusion, and wondered what I missed. I'm just confused on what I'm doing here. I just don't get it, man. You know, I want, unless you're an Israeli or a pedophile, I want, or, you know, a Jew for the most part, I want everyone's lives to be better. And really, I want the Jews' lives to be better, too. I do. I want you to be able to put down your racist, supremacist, horrible bullshit, and we all live together in harmony. That would be great. I have nothing against Jews in particular. It's just that belief structure. And I don't understand, like, I can't even say what the resistance is because I'm not even allowed to have the resistance. And I know the system, I know what's going on. I know I'm being censored and all that shit. But this has always been a personal journey. This has always been about me trying to figure things out for myself and just, sort of documenting it and bringing people along that want to come along. But, this is about me. And why am I not obsessed with learning about how to make myself more money? Why am I not obsessed with, you know, I mean, I don't know. Learning how to work the system so I can, get like I had a buddy once who knew, like, he used to change his phone plan every month. He would change it from one thing to another and would work it out so he'd get like a next to nothing phone bill, and know all these little tricks and shit on how to work the system. Videos out there that are life hacks, and shit. And it's like, why don't I have that drive? Why am I not the guy that wants to learn all the life hacks so I can make my life better and easier? Why can't I? Where is the obsession with making money? I'd love to make money, but it's always been this way. I've screwed myself out of many opportunities because instead of just being quiet and letting whatever radio person or whatever it is have their ego moment, I gotta be honest. I just gotta be me. And what the fuck? What's the purpose? For what? It doesn't work out. It makes me a fucking pariah and ostracizes me. It's cost me literally probably hundreds of thousands of dollars in inheritance. I'm guarantee it could have been close to $1 million in inheritance. Strictly because I wanted to know more shit. I wanted answers to stuff. I asked questions I didn't know I wasn't allowed to ask. I sit here and I think about this stuff. And I try to wrap my head around it, and I just go like, what is the fucking problem here? It's the same thing I experience daily with trying to talk to people. If I'm wrong in your Jesus, your Trump, your Jewishness, your Judaism, your gay hatred, whatever it may be, is the right thing to do, why am I the one that's like, well, shit, let's talk about it, and you're the one that falls apart? I don't understand this shit. I'm literally just lost and frustrated trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do here. Dorcas. I don't know, man. I'm in this really frustrating spot.
And I know that's hard to hear, but I promise you we're gonna find who did this.
I don't get it.
But we need your help.
I don't want to be this person.
Did you tell him?
Yeah, he figured it out.
What about his supervisor?
He was like, did something, he said something like, did someone die or something die? And I said, no one died.
Have you met her?
And he said, that's something else. And I was like, no. And he said, well, what is, because he said, when we went out to the car, he was like, all right, tell me. And I was like, no, dude, it's sad. And he was like, oh, well, then don't tell me. So then we're driving, and he's like, well, wait, but why are you laughing if it's sad? And I said, because I think it's funny, and I think you'll think it's funny, but Mom thinks you'll think it's sad, so no. And then he was like, well, did something die? And I said, no one died. And he asked another question, and I said no. And then he waited a little bit, and he was like, wait, did something die? I could already tell he had figured it out. And I was like, just don't worry about it, dude. And he was like, oh, okay. So it was the bird. He said, did the bird die? I said, well, it didn't die per se, as it was more killed. And he was like, and he had that face, and I told him the story, and he was trying, he didn't want to laugh. But so what had happened was, what we're talking about was, this bird had fallen out of a, well, this bird had been kicked out of the tree, out of the nest by its mother. And it was on the side of the sidewalk. So Angela, the fucking fool, is walking down the street, walking down the sidewalk, and she sees it. And she, oh, the birdie, the poor birdie. So she comes running in, and she gets a box. And her and Nick go out, and they get it into the box. And I'm, the whole time I'm going, guys, stop. Just leave the fucking bird there. It's food. Like, literally, that bird is not here for any other purpose than to be food. That's what it's here for. It's not going to cure cancer. It's not going to fucking stop wars. It's not going to do anything other than be food for something else. And you guys are stopping something else from probably getting a much needed meal. No, I'm heartless. I'm mean. And I'm going, I'm heartless and mean because I think nature has an ugly side, and I think the ugly side of nature is still beautiful too. So I'm the bad guy, right? So Angela finds somebody else to, this weird, she's kind of hot, but she's weird chick to take the bird. Like, I'm not really sure how that all works. She was just like, yeah, I'll take it.
I posted in the group.
Right.
She used to work with rehab, and she would rehab her and be able to release her.
So she goes live. She makes a live little thing about it, and Angela watches it, and so they watch as the bird gets better. Oh, the bird's better. Look, the bird's better. Turns out,
I just took her sunflowers.
Turns out the bird has a busted beak, and will never be able to be released because it wouldn't survive on its own, which is probably why it was pushed out of the fucking nest to begin with. So now the bird is going to live with this lady. So can't even help it. So I guess she had the bird out loose playing in the living room when she heard a thump or something in the other room. Her kid was in the other room. Kid was in the other. So she ran into the other room to see what was up with her kid. And when she came back out, the kittens that she's fostering had gotten at the bird and killed the bird. So Final Destination kind of shit, where you can't do that. That bird was not supposed to be alive. The mom was like, here, I don't want it. No, it's going to die. It's going to die. It doesn't have the proper ability to feed itself. It's going to die.
She wouldn't have died had it not been for those kittens.
She would have died on her own. She would have died without human interaction, which a wild bird should not need. But I just thought I'd tell that story. I thought it was pretty funny. Phenomenal Miami. What's up, whoever you are? Was that Katie? Your mind wants what it wants, my friend. You're a creative, so you're looking at our there false creation. Yeah, but for what? Why? I often wonder the same thing about myself. Why'd I read Creature from Jekyll Island instead of Make $1 Million Overnight? Right. But see, for me, you're allowed to read Creature from Jekyll Island. Oh, what's up, Rita? It's been a long time. Creature from Jekyll Island, if you talk about Creature from Jekyll Island, you're not going to get ostracized. You're going to find people that are like, oh, I've read that book, blah, 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 blah. You don't understand. My, only interest in this regard is something that negatively affects me. Like, I have other interests outside of this, personal stuff at home. But when it comes to conspiracy. Like I love Tartaria. I'm fascinated by Tartaria, but as soon as I start getting into it, there's that cutoff where it's gonna always take me back to the Jews. And then I'm gonna start talking about that. Like I've been posting in this Tartaria group lately. You know, how can you still believe in the Bible and Tartaria? If you believe that there was some sort of reset that happened in between 1750 and 1850, something like that, or whatever, whenever you believe, then anything before that is nonsense. It's bullshit. Especially some Jesus God bullshit. Like, what are we talking about here? And it's what I've been learning lately is that the just because ChatGPT is new for us doesn't mean it's new. And when you look at our history and you look at the narratives that exist, it's to me it seems pretty obvious that that's what's happening. A version of that has been used for a long, long time. Wikipedia is a great example of it, in that you'll look up multiple things that will have copy and paste answers on them. It's like there's no way the person writing it is going to write those same things over and over again, word for word. Clearly, the AI is putting it in where it feels necessary. The chosen LOL. Well, we don't have to be as censored on YouTube. We can talk about the Jews for who they are.
Really? I had a fascinating conversation with Latoya. You would have been so proud of her. Like,
no, I wouldn't know.
Yeah,
Because she's talking about how the blacks are the original Jews and blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
No, we weren't. She said, who are you voting for? She said, do you vote? And I said, no. She goes, yeah, me. Because if you did vote, who would you vote for? And I said, I don't know. Like, I was leaning towards Kamala because I absolutely despise Trump. And she's the lesser of the two evils. And then you find out that she fucking chooses a Jewish vice president. And it kind of
I'm so proud of my wife.
makes you rethink it, you know? And she was like, she did? And I said, yeah. Like, I'm not sure where she stands on that yet, you know? So
It's weird how you think, like, you get used to sort of talking about it with me and stuff, so you think, like, that's how other... But then you realize when you say it
I'm very
outside...
careful talking to other people.
Right, because everybody can't handle
Because
it.
it sounds very prejudiced and shitty.
It doesn't, because if you
does.
were to say it, you know, a Muslim, there would be no prejudice there. Nobody would think anything of it. I'm kind of worried because, you know, they're going, it's a Muslim, and people be like, yeah, I know, they're so bad. But,
Wow.
see, but we're not talking about prejudice. This is important that people understand that. This is just like any other belief structure. It's a prejudice against a belief structure. It's not, I've said it time and time again. You can, if you're a Jew, you were raised Jewish, and you are like, hey, I want nothing to do with that supremacy. I think we're all equal, and I want to live together in harmony, happiness. I'm like, dude, welcome to the fucking club. I am so glad you're here. I would be that way if that ever happened.
But she was talking about Rothschild. She was talking, I mean, I was like very impressed that a single black mother that is very immersed in her culture and surrounded by the stereotypes was such a free thinker.
It's part of it. No, that's where like Jay-Z doesn't get enough credit. Angela, come on, seriously, I'm trying to be serious here.
You're so disgusting.
Seriously, stop it. But Jay-Z doesn't get enough credit. Jay-Z is like the reason why black people think about any of that stuff, because Jay-Z adopted that personality and did what he did. But Angela's right. Like, I've said this now multiple times. Do people not realize this? are are two choices, but then there's that third. There's always the third that they like kind of tease has a chance. Like a third party person has ever won the fucking election before.
But she was even saying, it doesn't matter if we vote anyways. The votes don't matter. They put in the office who they want to put in the office, and they pretend like our votes matter. And I was like, the overall black mentality is vote. You gotta vote. You gotta
No,
vote,
it's
you
not.
gotta vote.
No, it's
Fuck
not.
yeah, it is.
No, it's not.
And it's because they weren't allowed to vote for so long.
Not at all.
So
And most black people I've known, and
oh, see, no.
considering I've probably known more black people than you,
That's
they all
not
think it's a.
necessarily true. I worked in Southfield. My whole office was black for years and years and years.
Right.
But
They believe
and all
black
of them
people
were
know.
adamant, about voting. No, you absolutely. We didn't have the right to vote. We remember not having the right to vote. Like, you have to vote. So the fact that she was like, no, it doesn't matter at all. It doesn't count. I was, again, like I said, I was very proud that, oh my God, this is a sign that people are starting to wake up. They're not just
Exactly.
blindly listening to the people around them.
Just like you can say chemtrail nowadays, and people know what you're talking about. They may not believe in them, but they know the term.
But knowing a term and actually like adopting a new
If you said
way of
chemtrails 20 years ago, people wouldn't have known what you were talking about. The
Right.
point being that the seeds are planted. It's changing. Things are changing. I've got a Jewish friend who's feeling that one love, no supremacy shit. Yeah, but does she still refer to herself as Jewish? Like, I love when people say, like, I got a buddy I had a buddy who he would say his girlfriend is half Jewish, half Mexican, half Jewish. And I like, what do you mean she's half Jewish? Where is Jewish from? What does that mean?
a fucking idiot across the street. The roommate? She married a Muslim.
Oh shit.
Oh no, my phone needs to be plugged in.
I didn't know.
She married a Muslim, and she didn't get married by law. She got married in the Muslim church, so she's married by Islam. Is how she puts it. So she doesn't have to get a divorce because the state doesn't recognize her as married. But so she converted, but her mother was Irish Catholic. She now calls herself Jewish. I said, "What do you mean you're Jewish?" "Well, my dad's Jewish." Because his dad's Jewish. I said, it doesn't go like that. It goes off your mother's religion. What was your mother? Well, she was Irish Catholic, but
Yeah, but she's really stupid, so I don't even care. Like her. Yeah, bud. What?
the girl that
Yeah?
She's half Jewish.
Shauna.
Yeah, Shauna's half Jewish.
Okay, well, your religion is supposed to go off of your mother's religion. So whatever her mother is technically what she's supposed to be. Okay, well, it follows.
That's
your
why
mother's
they're
religion.
poor. You know, it's the thing is, what people think is I think that all Jews are wealthy and all Jews. I don't. I'm not stupid. There are plenty of it's like there are plenty of Freemasons that don't know shit.
You found a poor Greek.
No, this is different. Well, I mean, I guess, but no. I'm saying what people think I think. You know, you've said it to me plenty of times. They don't all have the money, and I don't think that way. I think there are plenty of poor Jewish people that are being taken advantage of just as much as we are.
You see the commercials.
The poor forgotten Jews.
Eating the cat food.
This is Yael Eckstein, and I am with the poor forgotten Jews. Oh, I can't stand that broad. I want to punch her fucking face every time I see it. Her commercials.
I just don't know how they can get away with such blatant lies.
Such blatant. Well, and the thing is, when it was the Jews in Russia, and then the Ukraine thing happened, and they're using the same commercial, but now it's the Jews in Ukraine. And I mean, it's just so awful. And then when you look at those commercials, they're so clearly fake. Like if you pay close attention, you'll see that these poor Jewish women who can barely make it and whatnot, well, their hands look soft. And why do they still have gold earrings then? And why are their teeth still? Well, no. But like you'll see these little things that they're just little clues. And they're so fucking stupid that they don't realize, they don't care enough if we know for them to like really go over it with a fine-tooth comb. They know that even if a few of us see something or say something or whatever, the rest of us have been programmed like, you can't say that. You can't. You know how many people have told me I can't say Jew? You can't say Jew? Why? That's not even a fucking slur. I mean, it can be if you're like, Jews. But it's so fucking crazy. It's so crazy to be in this world. This whole Jewish conspiracy thing, it's not some fucking secret. Everyone knows. I can think of multiple comedians who have done, like Louis C.K., Patrice, all these guys who have done sets on it. Dave Chappelle SNL skit. To break that down from a psychological perspective, like I would love to do that. To sit there and, I wish I was one of those people who's just allowed to review shit and doesn't get their feed shut down for making money off of other people's creativity. But to watch that Dave Chappelle, what is it, like 12 minutes, 11 minutes, something like that, that opening monologue, and break it down like joke for joke, line for line.
Innuendo for innuendo.
Right. It's shocking. To think he starts it off by pulling out a piece of paper and saying, just so everybody knows, I respect all my Jewish friends and the Jews in general, and I don't mean this, and please don't take all my money. Like, and everybody's like, aha, yeah, that's funny, huh? Dave knocked it out of the park. Every joke he said had a huge laugh, except one. And it wasn't even a joke. The one time he sort of broke from it and was like, but, I do have to say the one thing the Jewish people can't do is blame black people for what happened to them. Because black people didn't do it. And it just went silent. And Dave was, and then somebody was like, yeah. And Dave was like, yeah, he gets it. And then, he gets it, gets the laugh, gets the reaction. But when Dave said Jewish people can't blame black people for what happened to them, nobody clapped. No one agreed. And Dave really walked the line on that one, on that monologue. I'm surprised it got through because, again, Dave didn't just walk out there and do a monologue and everybody watching was like, oh, this is the first time I've heard it. He has to do his spiel for Lauren Michaels and all the rest of the producers before they go out. And I think, I think they're really stupid. And two, I think they're really arrogant. And they just, if they catch it all, they don't care. They know most of us won't, and those that do, it won't matter. Oh, I wish we had half your ads. I wish we had half your ads. I don't know what that means. I mean, this is. It's just strange. It's just strange. Watching him, sort of dismantle Kanye's scariness by making jokes and making it so Kanye could still be. He didn't have to I mean, he disappeared, but he didn't have to be killed. You know, and I told you guys from the beginning, Kanye wasn't going to get killed. Kanye was doing his job. Cat Williams. Isn't it funny how Cat Williams isn't getting killed? Isn't it funny how Cat Williams just, it's kind of like nothing. There's no repercussions. There's nothing that really comes from it.
Well, I think that they dismiss him a lot more than
Mm-mm.
you realize.
The Cat Williams podcast on the Shay Shay thing is like one of the biggest podcasts ever.
Really?
Oh yeah. It's been seen by so many people. So many people who aren't into Cat Williams, so many people who aren't into conspiracies and all, that thing was on fire. But I you know, all Cat Williams did was the same thing Kanye did. As much as it was, you know, you sort of, in your head, you sort of think like, he said things he wasn't supposed to about Jews, but all the people he talked about were black. Kanye only named black people. Cat Williams only named black people, only threw black people under the bus. Let's just say all the things he says about black people are absolutely true. And those people he mentioned are totally shitty. What about all the fucking Jews? What about all the Jews? Like, the idea that Diddy is getting in trouble right now. Diddy is a piece of shit.
Oh, wasn't that? Didn't he touch some kid?
Who knows? Probably. Diddy is a piece of shit. Diddy, the whole... for decades, everybody knew about Diddy and Usher. And like... At like 14 years old, Usher's parents let him go live with Diddy? What are you talking about? No. Diddy was a famous man by this point. Yes. Yes, Diddy was well known. Nicholas goes to live with some other man. I don't care who that other man is.
Fucking broad, let Jordan go live wherever. Didn't even go check and see what the house was like.
Jordan was 18.
A couple
17.
of years ago.
This Usher was 14 and was allowed to go live with Diddy. Just why would Sean P. Diddy Combs want your kid to hang out and live in his at 20 something?
Michael Jackson.
The idea of wanting to hang out with children, with teenagers, was gone. Didn't want to hang out with teenagers. Michael Jackson is an exception. Michael Jackson is one of those guys where we can't relate to what Michael Jackson was. We cannot imagine what it's like to have lived in his world with his monster dad. Of course not. But I'm not sending my boys to go stay at any man's house. Doesn't have kids and it's any man that wants to hang out with my children. There's something wrong. Maybe it's not sexual, but there's something wrong, and I'm not okay with that. On the TV, some of them sound so off the wall. The poor forgotten Jews.
Oh, those commercials are off. And yes, most of them sound off on TV.
Because they're lying. It's all like, how do you make lies sound real? And
Some of it, but if you went to school that had a drama club and you interacted with those kids, they were fucking weird to begin with.
Everybody's weird.
Who makes up Hollywood is the drama kids.
Right, exactly. The kids that want to put on makeup and pretend they're someone else because who they are isn't enough fun.
So yeah, those people are.
Would you have sent Nick to live with Michael Jackson? Of course not. But again, I wouldn't send Nick to go live with my neighbor next door. I like him and everything. He's cool, but I still wouldn't send him to go live with.
Definitely not. Like no pedophile vibes.
Yeah, no, not a single, not a drip. I would absolutely trust that neighbor with my kids more than that neighbor.
Oh, I would.
But I wouldn't let him go. I wouldn't send him to go live with him for any fucking reason, especially at 14. So, but the thing is, what never comes up is those parents. I literally, from Michael Jackson to Diddy to you fucking name it, the Coreys, any of that shit. No one ever talks about what the fuck is wrong with the parents. Who the fuck does that? Why aren't the parents being in trouble for this? You know, and the thing with Michael, I heard Tito Jackson say it one time. He said, you know, if you think about it, the FBI, the CIA, and every other fucking paparazzi and everything has been trying to get something bad on my brother for 20 fucking years. with the best technology possible. And they haven't found a thing. They've been trying to get him. And they haven't found a thing. Doesn't that kind of say something?
It's not that they haven't found a thing. He paid off a lot of people.
Again,
documented payoffs to a lot of people.
Because they... Again, for someone like Michael Jackson, for us, we don't get it. How could you just pay somebody $2 million to shut the fuck up? Because you were stupid enough to let that person into your inner circle. They are now taking advantage of things, and it will be cheaper, easier, and a lot less heartache and hope your shit getting drugged through the mud and all that. I mean, with one of the times they made Michael Jackson, they made him take naked Polaroids of him and shit. Like, for him, paying $2 million is a shit ton easier than it is to deal with that shit. Or a couple $100,000 or whatever. Okay. The Michael Jackson stuff is I don't know. I just
have a neighbor that grew up in the house that was across the street from Motown. The actual Motown little studio that still exists today. Joe's house doesn't exist anymore, but that's where he was born and raised. So he said that he would see when the Jacksons would come into town to do their recording and stuff. He said they would stay in the little like studio apartment or whatever that was above the recording studio in that building. He said, and all of his brothers and sisters would be out front playing with, neighborhood kids, kicking the ball.
Michael wasn't allowed to.
He said, and Michael would be sitting up at that window, staring out the window at all the kids.
Right. He had social anxiety disorder, and he was not allowed to. But the thing is, people want to talk about Michael Jackson, right? Hey, why don't we talk about Woody Allen instead?
Why don't we talk about Michael Jackson's parents that caused that tremendous trauma?
Again, I'm not really worried about Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson's dead. Michael Jackson's been dead. And the thing is, Michael Jackson has a questionable wake. You don't really know what Woody Allen married his fucking adopted daughter.
That whole thing is just awful.
There are documented instances of inappropriate shit that had happened. Mia Farrow tried her best to sort of expose Woody, and then was just shut down and shunned by the system. You want to talk about Michael Jackson? Let's talk about Woody Allen. Who do you think was more powerful behind the scenes in Hollywood? Michael Jackson, at the end of the day, he might have been the king of pop and blah, blah, blah. They controlled Michael Jackson. I was writing about Michael Jackson just as he was mentioned.
I don't know. I had always hoped that your mom created wanted to make sure you never felt like a compassion.
This is all, and see, right now, I feel like a piece of shit, right? Because even though we're talking about sort of important stuff, We're talking about stuff that we can't actually know any of the truth to until we overthrow the Jews that control the narrative. The Jews that are engaging in a genocide on one side of the country and starting another one on the other. And we're just like, yeah, they're literally sending more troops to the Middle East. More US troops are going to be dying. And see, this is the, I had overthought it before. I thought that they were going to need the US casualty thing to do the Gaza thing. I didn't realize how brazen they were and how stupid we are. That they could just do the Gaza thing based on the October 7th lie, and that would just work. I was mistaken there. I thought that they would need a false flag where troops are stationed in Israel, and wherever they're stationed, the Iron Dome happens to fail, like it did a few months ago, where Israel started claiming that the 12 Israeli children were killed. 12 Israeli children were killed. 12 Israeli children were killed. Yes, they were Israeli because they live in Israel. But they were from the Druze community, which aren't Jewish, which aren't Israeli, which don't support that. And the Druze were pissed. That's why that story disappeared. Why do you think the 12 children of Israel that were killed story hasn't been plastered all over the media and they're still not milking it? Because they weren't allowed to. The Druze were like, fuck that. Don't be using ours. You killed us. The only reason that missile gets shot in the first place is because of you. Because Israel is the one that shoots the rockets into Israel. You're never going to convince me that Hamas somehow has rockets and rocket launchers, and I mean, it's just fucking stupid.
It doesn't matter if they do. They started and founded by Jews.
Well, and if they are doing anything, it's in defense. But the point being that those rockets that supposedly get fired into Israel are fired by Israel into agreed upon coordinates so the Iron Dome can shoot them down. And then it can give them the excuse, well, we got attacked, so we need to strike back tenfold. But now, and so what they did with the Druze thing is a random rocket just happens to get through the Israeli Iron Dome that's 99% effective. And the one time it does, it hits this playground in this Druze neighborhood, killing these 12 children. The 12 children of Israel. Yeah, Lebanon is fucking. The shit with Lebanon is, and now they're doing it to Lebanon.
Destroyed. And I'm so worried for that part of the world.
How does nobody remember that Israel already blew up Beirut? You guys not remember that a few years ago? What's up, dude?
Can I have a charger because the phone's about to die?
No, you're gonna have to wait on that, bud. Because you're looking at it over and over again. It's so what I think is going to happen now is they're going to do that false flag thing where they kill a bunch of American troops stationed in Israel and blame it on Lebanon. Because Lebanon's too big. They can't do Lebanon like they did Gaza. They need that support.
Well, they don't want to kill their own people. They'd rather we die.
Oh, for sure. But I'm just saying, Lebanon's too badass. Lebanon's badass. Then again, like I say, they blew it up. So, do you guys not remember? Maybe it was 2000. Probably it's 2018. 2018, when a factory, an old rickety factory, like dead smack strategically in the middle of Beirut, that if you were going to drop a bomb right there, the radius of the explosion would be strategically optimal, right? This old rickety factory just happened to be in that spot. And inside that old rickety factory was ammonium nitrate. Tons and tons of ammonium nitrate housed improperly. Supposedly brought in through Russian ships or some bullshit years ago, and then just illegally, but whatever, but stored in this old rickety factory. Now, ammonium nitrate is what was used in Oklahoma City. And ammonium nitrate, they had a moving van with ammonium. It had a couple of barrels of ammonium nitrate in it. So if you think a couple of barrels of ammonium nitrate supposedly did the Oklahoma City bombing, if you then multiply that by a factory's worth, you can imagine how insane that is. So you have this factory full of this ammonium nitrate that suddenly catches on fire. And it's burning for hours.
How does it catch on fire?
It's burning for hours. You don't ask the how question, stupid girl. And certain people know there's ammonium nitrate in this building. I can't imagine everybody in the fucking town knew it. But there wasn't like a, red alert evacuation warning going out, get the fuck out of town, and a fucking bomb is about to blow off. It was so blasé that there were multiple people set up filming it. Multiple different locations, multiple different views from all around the city set up filming it. Just before the explosion, what are described as fireworks are going off. Little white fireworks. I guess somehow, amid this ammonium nitrate factory that was on fire, a box of fireworks must have just been there or something. Why wouldn't they be? So you get 4 or 5 of these flashes, these white flashes that go off, and then suddenly a gigantic mushroom cloud explodes. Just knocking everybody that's filming it back, destroying the shockwave blast, blew windows out, just annihilated Beirut. And it happened to be right near their grain storage. So their grain storage was completely contaminated and destroyed by this. And afterward, the entire government, the entire Beirut government stepped down. And the spokesperson said that they were stepping down because the shadow leadership above them was making everything so hard to deal with that they couldn't do anything. So they all stepped down. But the good news is the first place to reach out when Beirut blew up and offer their assistance was Israel. That's what they said.
I have never heard of Israel going to any country's aid.
Never.
Confidence in a woman make you uncomfortable, Agent Callum?
Well, if it did, then I'm about to marry the wrong woman.
Never. The only time you've heard, so I never heard of it happening. I heard them offer it to Beirut, and then I heard Ukraine for some reason. The whole idea that Israel isn't helping Ukraine has been this real big story the whole time. Like Israel is known to help people. I always thought that one was really weird. Why is everybody so upset that Israel isn't helping Ukraine? For the same reason I've been telling you the whole time. Why do we care about Ukraine? Because that's where a bunch of Jews live. Especially in Kiev. But like, people are so programmed to hear me talk like that and go, oh, you're not supposed to talk about the Jews, that they're not even hearing what's being said. They're just hearing the Jew part and being like, oh, I get in trouble for that. I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to get in trouble. That Beirut shit was insane. It's insane to watch. Look it up. Look up that Beirut explosion and see if, like, I need to read more into that. I might read into that one later next time, if I even remember.
Totally 100% for sure deserve it. Delicious chicken they may or may not deserve. Purdue.
Every fall, we say hello to a
I mean, this is also what happened to you guys remember earlier this year when Israel was busy attacking hospitals, and instead of us paying attention to that, we were told that we had to pay attention to Russia, where ISIS had come out of nowhere and attacked a theater, killing 120 some people. ISIS came out of nowhere. Like, ISIS hasn't done a thing in forever. They come out of nowhere, attack Russia, and then they just disappear again, and everything's like, okay. What is it, dude?
The phone's at 1%.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't have another charger for you. I don't know what to give you. I don't know where the other one is. Here. Here, stay there. I'll drop it down to you, you freaking fragger.
100% cash back if you don't. Get all your money back with return of premium life insurance. Call the number on your screen. You have no obligation. Call now. There is nothing like a Wendy's Frosty.
It's amazing how the phone keeps getting lower and lower even though you're not looking at it.
Wait, what? The one and only Frosty is a buck. Got it.
I told myself I was okay with my moderate to severe rheumatoid arthritis.
With my psoriatic arthritis.
But just
I wish I knew what to say, man.
So they really are gonna go and attack Iran, aren't they?
Oh yeah, Iran is in that. So there's this. I don't even remember when it's from. I don't even remember what it was from.
Yesterday, again about it. Which means
What's-
we're gonna go there.
Well, yeah, somebody a while ago. Can't remember who it was, but they gave a list of the countries that the conspiracy guy gave a list of the countries that, in order that we were going to attack them in, and it was like Libya, Syria, like all these countries that we've already done, that have already happened. And on that list, of course, is Iran and is Lebanon, and like you're now seeing that come to fruition. I wish I knew what that was. I can't remember where that list was. But I just see. I'm sitting here talking about all this stuff again, and it's like, why? What? Why? What's the point? I'm looking at my number go from like 4 to 1, 1 to like, Karen is commenting. Anybody watching me, why aren't you commenting? I know at least one of the people watching is the Israeli troll. I always have the Israeli trolls watching. But where are the rest of you in all of this? Don't you people watching have any sort of opinion on this one way or another? I mean, like I had started to say earlier, you either get to pick your third party candidate, which is Jill Stein. She's a Jew. You can pick from Kamala, who has now the Jewish vice president. Or you can pick Trump, who is the greatest friend to the Israeli people and Israel, or the greatest friend that the Israeli people and Israel have ever known, according to Netanyahu. The reason why Israel is physically capable of doing what they're doing right now has a lot to do with Trump.
Don't do it.
sloppy work, and then there's whatever the hell this was. It's no wonder the case ended up with us.
Like, they trick you all the time by getting you to focus on what these guys supposedly are different on. Oh, look. She must be a really high up, huh?
What was the argument about?
You think she's one of the higher ups, sweetheart? Think she's probably one of the most powerful agents in the whole thing? Because they love doing that?
What was the alibi?
The most powerful agents are always Jewish females? Come on. But they always have us focusing on what the candidates differ on instead of focusing on what they're the same on. And it's what they're the same on that's scary. It's I don't even know what to do right now. Seriously? I'm watching the Jew takeover take place. I'm literally watching as they're moving all of their pieces into the positions that they're in. You know, they're going to put themselves either in the president or the vice president position. And it's going to trickle down, you know, the speaker, the fucking, you know, Anthony Blink, the Secretary of State, all these guys, they're going to, you know, I mean, right now you have you guys forget this. Last year at this time and for most of the summer and spring, Joe Biden, Anthony Blinken, and Jake Sullivan, three of the most powerful representatives of the United States, were consistently not just dealing with going over to Israel, trying to work a normalization deal out between Saudi Arabia and Israel. And a normalization deal is not something you can actually figure out what it is. You can find out what it is. You have to sort of figure it out because there's no real like definition of it anywhere. But from what I can tell, a normalization deal is whatever country it is allows Israel, the Israeli people, to travel to and from that country as they feel freely without passports and shit, or without visas, and that whatever Israel does in the future, they won't interfere. And in signing these deals, the higher-ups that sign the deal, not the people, because the people don't seem to agree with this, but the higher-ups that sign the deals get all kinds of compensation from the United States government, aka the taxpayer. And so all of last year, they're trying to get Saudi Arabia to sign one of these normalization deals, and Saudi Arabia keeps saying no until Israel changes the way they treat the Palestinian people. We won't sign anything. Funny how Saudi Arabia has been silent in all of this. Why isn't Saudi Arabia standing up for the Palestinian people? They're the only ones that really can. They're the only ones big enough to stand up to Israel. But they know that if they stand up to Israel, then they stand up to the United States, and that'll bring death and destruction among their people, which leads to the whole argument of why a Palestinian would ever fire a rocket into Israeli airspace, knowing it's going to bring death and destruction to their people. If an entire country like Saudi Arabia isn't willing to put its people in danger to help another country that they've stood behind this whole time, then why would the Palestinians do it to themselves? It's just it's like more proof that the Israelis shoot the rockets into the Israeli airspace.
Which we just received.
But, you know, at the same time, there's never any investigation into it, so there's no real proof anyway. There's no proof that the Palestinians do. There's no proof that the Israelis do, other than the proof you can see. because there's never any investigation into anything. Nothing.
Well, what they say is true.
An American fucking journalist was killed while walking, not during any sort of firefight or anything. She was just walking. She was shot in the face. She had a press helmet on, a bulletproof helmet, and a press bulletproof jacket on. And they shot her in the face so that, the bullet would kill her. And as she fell out on the ground and was bleeding out, they shot all around her. Anytime somebody came near her to try to help, they shot around her to scare the people away. Then, the next day, they kidnapped her brother and told him that he is to tell the people they are not to have their typical funeral where they carry the body from the church to the cemetery in a funeral procession and sing songs. And he is to tell the people not to do that. There will be no funeral like that. There will be no song sung, nothing like that. And then they let him go, and he ran to the media and told the story. The next day, when they had the funeral and the people were carrying the casket, the Israeli military, the IDF, showed up, shot flashbangs and smoke bombs, and attacked the funeral with batons and clubs and shit, shooting rubber bullets and beating the funeral goers to the point where they dropped the casket, but they caught it before it could fully fall. I really wish they would have caught it and the body would have fallen out, because that would have been a real spectacle that wouldn't have been able to be as easily denied or overlooked. As disrespectful and yucky as it is, it would have been better for the Palestinians if that would have happened. But maybe not. I mean, the Israeli military attacks a funeral and nobody cares. They attacked a fucking funeral and no one cared. And it was an American citizen's funeral.
It's just as low as you can get.
It is. It is. Mothers are,
They were arguing about before she disappeared. I wish I could.
I still don't understand how the Israelis are the best at it, but apparently in this situation, the Palestinians were pretty good at it too. It took 2-3 days for the funeral to happen. The Israelis can make funerals happen within hours. And not just funerals, full-on burials. Funeral and a burial happen within 2 hours of the incident.
It's been 20 years. I get it. Just one more thing.
Makes total sense, doesn't it? See, I just...
Almost like it was pre-planned.
Asking about his teeth?
Pre-planned and isn't real. See, it would be crazy if I could just start some sort of investigation service. If I had access, well, I'm press now and I have credentials and I'm investigating, what happened here. I want to investigate the Michael Jackson Bolanos trial. And the what's her name? I can't remember her name. The woman, the Jewish woman that he was accused of killing when it was impossible for him to have done so. I want to know. I want to talk to those people. I would love to interview someone like Biden, Sullivan, something like that. And when they go, well, our support for Israel is ironclad. They haven't used that one in a minute, because for a minute everybody that was the thing everybody was saying. But there's one simple question that never ever gets asked. And even though these kinds of things are said all the time, our support for Israel is unwavering. They got to literally. I've seen YouTube shows me an ad every day about the Jewish vice president for Kamala. I report the ad. I tell them I don't want this Jewish propaganda on my shit. Stop sending me this. I hate this shit. Fuck Israel, blah, blah, blah. I say that shit all the time, and they still, and then I block the ad, and they still re-show it to me all the time. You know, and there's a longer one and there's a shorter one. The shorter one I can't skip, but it's just a reassurance that Kamala's support for Israel has never waned. It's always been steadfast. And I would love to interview any one of these fucking people and just ask, why? Why do we support Israel so much? Because they're our biggest ally in the region. Okay, well, how? How do they help us in any way? The relationship seems pretty one-sided, if you ask me. Why do we give Israel money? Oh, no. See, a lot of the times, we don't just give Israel money. We give them military aid, okay? So military aid and money are different things.
Okay, so the money that we give them, they don't have to spend on weapons and ammunition because that's already free to them. Oh,
well, there's
that doesn't translate to money.
Well, there's that, but military aid is money. It's just money earmarked for military purposes. So that's somehow not money then. Like, I am just some dumb American. Just some dumb nobody. And I'm asking what I believe are simple questions that I'm supposed to, like, these are things that directly affect my life, whether I want them to or not. These are these wars and these things that are going on, and this is where my tax dollars are being spent and all of these other things. And I'd like to know these answers. I'd like to be able to talk to some sort of representation, some representative that can explain these things so I can ask these, what I believe are really simple questions. If you can't answer these questions pretty simply, then something's wrong. And yet there's nowhere. There's nothing. There's nowhere someone like me can go to find the answers. Because when I look up what I'm supposed to look up, when I read the news or when I look up the Wikipedia stuff, or, you know, like, this is the official narratives. The Wikipedia pages that I tend to look up are the official ones. The ones that can't just be edited by someone. And so, you know, the question then becomes like, once I exhaust that method, then what do I have? Because I've tried, and that method only makes it worse. I'm going to randomly read this and see if there's some sort of weird conspiracy involved, or if it makes total sense. And it's never happened where it's just made total sense and we've been like, oh, yeah, well, I guess that makes sense then. Never. Every single time it's like, what, why what the fuck? How does that work? How do they know that? Where did that come from? You know, negative 168 BC, huh? Okay. Did you know that we circumcise ourselves to show that we are part of that we are their property? That we belong to them? Did you know that? And that all of you religious people, you believe in a God that doesn't care about how we treat each other. Doesn't care about how we treat the planet. Doesn't care about, you know, our wars and our slavery. And because, you know, haven't you ever wondered that? Like, why doesn't God, like, slaves and shit, how did that all come to be? The slaves and and they were all these good Christians, but they own slaves. And how do all these Christians keep killing each other? And how come God hasn't come back? And we're all waiting for Jesus. Everybody's waiting for Jesus to come back. Everybody's waiting for Jesus to come back. He can fix all the problems. Why doesn't God care about the problems? Why doesn't God stop all the people suffering with hunger, and the people getting raped in the church and all these other things? Why isn't God stopping it? Oh, well, we're still circumcising. So until we stop circumcising boys, God's not going to do anything. Yeah. He's just building up reason to flood us again. Looking at all this debauchery, just chalking it up. Oh, and then there they go again. There they go again. There they go again. As soon as they stop circumcising, I'm flooding this motherfucker. It's the only thing he cares about.
Racking up the points. Oh, they just killed all those people over there. That's 10 more points. They're going to get to 5,000 real quick.
Every 10 points is 1 inch of water. And you motherfuckers, you've got 1,000,000 points. So think about how long that flood's going to be. That's how God talks in my mind. Hello. Oh, hey, y'all. Yep, this is me. I'm God. What'd you expect?
Oh, see, I get through a lot of more stuff.
Of course you do. Right. Ugh, I would be so I'd be like, no! Not that big mouth Jew, no! Oh, this could get messy, but you don't seem to mind. Oh.
I have no idea what song that was.
Yeah, want your hand on there.
I don't want your help.
Give me a picture. I didn't like her as a...
Just go. I'm sure you've got lots of important work you need to get back
What about as a Mickey Mouse Club person, or
No.
all these Jews, they just get to be famous their whole life. Never liked it. As a kid, I never liked it. I don't watch. Why are they singing and dancing? How do they know all the words?
How do I want to watch kids be part of a different club that's all goofy and awkward?
I mean, look at how many shows are about kids, especially back in the day. You think like shows like Dennis the Menace. That shit wasn't. That was primetime television, made for adults. That wasn't made for kids. What the fuck? Who gives a fuck? Different Strokes and shit like that. These are primetime television shows.
But you can watch with your family. Wholesome TV. You can watch with your family about other families and learn new things. The things they want us to think.
It's really weird, man. There was a lot of shows about kids. And actually, especially when you go back, the further you go back, the more the stories are about orphans and about street kids and all that shit. Go look at all those old we were reading about the pneumatic tube systems the other day from, the 1850s, where, like those bank tubes that take you whoosh over into the bank. Yeah, they had those for people back in the 1860s. So stupid. It sounds like I'm lying.
I don't believe it happened. I think that's some sort of science fiction writing that, we'll tell them this and they'll believe it.
It's real. You can look it up. It's fucking real. It goes with the narrative of the people that existed. If you look at the World's Fairs should be like where you start, sort of. And you just look at the footage of the World's Fairs, or even the CGI footage of the World's Fairs that's been made based off of the pictures and all of the information available. And you see this shit and you go, okay, who was building this? even if you believe it's just temporary for some reason they just built these temporary structures. Like they built just all of this shit in a 2-year period for temporary purposes and then knocked it all down after the World's Fair was over. If you believe that, I mean, I just I don't know how to communicate with you. That doesn't make any sense. That's not how things work. We don't do that. And
I mean, no wonder Brittany confronted Aaron. Her CEO brushed her off. Forced her to take matters into
you
her
know,
hands.
we all know it. I mean, you already know it. You already know that your history is a lie.
Threatened to take the claim further.
Inside, you know it. That's probably why it's so hard for so many people to learn it. Because you're learning something that you inherently know is false. They're forcing a false narrative on you. You're looking at pictures that your little brains are going, yeah, but, you know, horses and buggy people built all that? How? How do they get the things all the way? How do they build all those castles? How do they build all those old churches and shit? What? How? And there's like not even explanation given. I am a proud Trump supporter, says Blatz. Why? Instead of being stupid and just repeating yourself over and over again, why not explain why you're a proud Trump supporter? Wouldn't that be a lot easier than proving the point? Well, actually, I guess it would be more difficult than proving the point. But wouldn't that be better than proving the point? Always interesting, man. Like this I am a proud Trump supporter 100 times. That's his way of being like, I'll show you. What? So he's going to say the economy, and there were no wars when Trump was president, and the borders. You're going to bring up those same pull cord bullshit nonsense things that aren't true, but there were no wars because Trump was president. The stupid things that people will hear and then repeat. Because other countries.
He was in the process of pissing people off while he was there, and those repercussions didn't come till after his dumbass left. Like,
No, not even. It wasn't the pissing people off. He was setting things up. Like again, he was giving Israel all of the power that they use to now do the genocide that they're doing. I mean,
he insulted a lot.
But none of those people are at war right now. That's not what we're talking about.
We don't know.
Yeah, well, from the narrative we're given, none of those places are at war. The wars that people keep talking about are Ukraine and then the Israel stuff. But they won't. But see, everybody that talks about that won't. They'll just say like the surface part. They won't go any deeper than that. They're not willing to look into it any more than, nope, there weren't wars and now there are. So, like, this is what I'm talking about. Why does this person exist? Why am I not one of these people? I don't see the benefit to being me. I could just be ignorantly, I wouldn't say blissful, but happier than Guy is, I guess. I could be one of these idiots who thinks the best way to make a point and to show somebody up is to go on their feed and write, I am a proud Trump supporter 8-10 times. That'll do it. And then when they ask me to explain, I'll go silent. Like, that has to be... there has to be something gotten from that for that person to do that. It has to make them feel better for them to do that. I know they're not sitting there questioning themselves like, why did I just do that? That's really, that's what I'm sitting here trying to figure out about myself. Why can't I just be a proud Trump supporter? Seems like it would be easier. I could go on the corner and hang out with a bunch of other idiot racists, and you know,
Because he's repulsive on every level.
to us. But why?
To pretty much anybody I talk to. Pretty much.
Yeah, but there's lots.
Save
There's
for a few.
this guys. There's lots and lots, and you live in a different world. We were driving around, and the kids were driving around the other day, and just the Trump signs are just everywhere, everywhere, everywhere.
Were you driving through racist Livonia? That makes sense.
For your funeral and other final
Mm,
expenses, including your credit card debt with no
no,
medical exam, starting at less than $1 a day.
not just racist Livonia, but racist Livonia is a majority. The majority is racist Livonia. And that's what I mean. Like these are the people that you know can go take a fucking a worm living its life, stick it on a hook, throw it in the water, stick that hook through a fish's face, pull it up, and either throw that fish back in the water and try to do it again, or kill the fish and eat it later, without thinking anything of it. Why can't I be like that? I used to love fishing when I was a kid. Last time I took the kids, we were at camp and we did the fishing. It was fun. I was sickened by it, but it was fun. But at the end of the day, I'm sickened by it. It's not something I want to do. Why can't I? Why do I have to be like this? Being like this does nothing but make my life harder. Literally, it's cost me however many thousands of dollars just because I ask questions. Because I have this desire to learn things and know things and not just random things like, again, how to make $1 million. My obsession, my point is in this one direction. How do I make the world better for a bunch of people that don't want to make the world better? And I can't stop it. Why can't I stop it? I've tried to stop it.
That's what it is. It's not a matter of changing who you are. It's acquiring the skill of turning it off when you need to, so it's not a detriment to your personal life.
Yeah, I guess. How do you stop caring?
It's shelving it.
How?
For the circumstances.
Shelving it through every other commercial is telling me about Trump and Harris and all that shit. How do you draw lines? Okay, well, I'll talk about it till this point, but as soon as I get to, well, gee, why is this happening? Well, I go, I don't know. Well, I don't know. That's weird. It's the same thing you want me to do in our relationship all the time. If she gets in a fight with her mom, and her mom does to her what she does to me, she gets pissed off. And she'll be like, I can't believe she fucking did this, and blah, blah, blah. And I'll just be sitting there like, what do I do? What do I do? And she'll be like, what? And I'll say, well, I'm sorry, but like, I know what you're going through. I understand that shit can be really frustrating when somebody does that to you. Oh, why do you always got to turn it into something about us and blah, blah. And it's like, I don't know how to just go, whoa, gee, sweetheart, that's weird. I don't know what that's about. I don't know anything about that. Gee, do. Like, how do you do that? Where do you, and then I would need a list of all the different circumstances that I might ever be in so I can try to figure out what line I'm not supposed to cross. I can be honest. I can be me. I can be inquisitive. I can do all that shit until I get to what point at every situation.
Gotta read the room. Gotta see who you're upsetting. Who you're,
Again, upsetting, like, how does me asking questions about things upset you? If I'm wrong, then why are you upset by what I'm saying? That doesn't make any sense to me. That's okay. Well, how do you get
If you
there?
do it in a confrontational way, people get defensive.
It's not a confrontational way. Of course, if you start talking about something that somebody doesn't want to talk about or isn't comfortable or whatever, they're gonna take it as confrontational. If I ask you about fucking star charts and all that shit, you're gonna say, "Well, you just don't believe it anyway, so why would I bother talking to you?" And that's the end of the conversation. Well, that's the end of that part of the conversation. Then starts the no, talk about it. Let's hear about it. If you're wrong, like, and I'm sitting there trying to figure it out, but you don't want to talk because I'm not gonna believe it. Well, I mean, again, I'm not going into it that I'm not going to believe it. I'm going into it like, okay, let's see what happens, and when things pop up that don't jive with me, I'm going to ask you, who knows more about it than I do, those questions. When it comes to Tartaria, it's the same thing. You'll do the same thing. If I try bringing it up to you, you'll start bringing up anything other than trying to see what it is. But then if I'm like, okay, well, here, look at this. Try checking this out. You won't look at it. I'm willing to look at it. I want you to look at it with me. Look at it. Let's go over it. I'm willing to be wrong so I can get better. If what you're saying is going to make me better, then I'm willing to try it. But there are some things that I see as issues, some manipulations, like especially with the star stuff. There's some real problems I see with it. And I can't just ignore those issues. How do you do that? Well, I want to believe it, so I'm going to ignore it. That's sort of the way that we're supposed to do everything. That's how Christians think. That's how I assume Muslims think. You know, kids will know that Santa Claus isn't real, but they'll want to believe in it, so they will. My oldest knew Santa wasn't a thing at like 2, and yet he still liked the idea of getting his Santa present every year. He knew there was no Santa. He even played along with his little brother. But when you want something, you'll be willing to overlook. And when you think about it, like I said this about Santa Claus a long time ago. When it comes to Santa Claus, sooner or later you realize apartments don't have chimneys. And that can be applied to everything. And instead of applying that to everything, people just get mad. As soon as you start crossing their line and start making them think about stuff they can't answer, and you know, shit starts looking different for them, they shut down.
I love my job. I have a law degree. I love my job.
Heads up.
I have such a hard time with all of this. I want to learn. I want to know as much as I can. I will sit here and read stuff forever. I'll do whatever it takes to try to learn more. Why isn't everybody else like that? And the problem being, the more I learn, the more I want to learn, the more questions I have, the more I question the reality and the narrative and all that stuff, the more I end up ostracizing myself, because at the end of the day, I'm just a lot smarter than most people are. And people don't like being around people smarter than them. And then I get told, oh, you just always have to be right. You use words just to make people feel stupid. You did, and it's like, I'm just talking. I'm sorry you feel stupid because you don't know the words I'm using. You want to argue with me about Jesus and stuff, but you don't know what firmament means? That's my fault? Like, it's the same thing. I've done it plenty of times. I've done it plenty of times where I've just tried to be like, can I just talk? Can I just say my part? I know you're getting mad and you keep interrupting me, but can I just say my part, please? You asked a question, I'm trying to answer it. You know? So you don't believe in God, and you think the earth is round? Or the earth isn't, you think the earth is flat? Well, no, I don't necessarily think it's flat, but It's funny you say that, because do you know what the very first thing God does when after he turns on the light? Turns on the light in the room, doesn't make the sun, turns on the light in the room. Do you know what the very first thing he does is? Well, no, I'm not good at the scriptures part. You don't know the very first thing God does? You believe in this narrative, but you don't know the narrative? And now you're going to argue with me, who does know the narrative, and then try to make me sound like I'm the bad guy for knowing the narrative? For knowing my side and your side? Gonna run outside and try to look up what firmament is and then come back in like, the ferment, he's just trying to say the ferment. The ferment in space. It's the ferment, it's space. Like, no, dummy, it's not. The firmament, not my word, the word, is the indestructible dome that your God builds over the flat earth when he creates it. So you, out of the two of us, should be trying to convince me that the earth is flat, because your Bible says it multiple times, or at least hints at it. Do you know that they don't sell nips anymore? Coffee nips. You guys remember how amazing coffee nips were? The cheapest coffee nips I could find online were $32 for like an 8 or a 12 pack. I can't remember.
Oh my god.
$32. If they're that fucking popular, maybe they should try remaking them? Seems like they'd be good, huh? Maybe they're just getting sued too much for ripping people's teeth out. Those motherfuckers would rip your teeth out, your fillings out, all that shit. Those things were, if you chewed on them, they were. Of course you did. You suck.
I enjoy the hard candy. I don't crunch it and be done with it in 2 minutes.
This, again, why can't I just be like that? Why can't I just enjoy the hard candy instead of crunching it? I've literally, like, I'll put it in my mouth and I'll be like, okay, this is so good. Just keep sucking on it. Just keep sucking on it. Just keep sucking on it. Hey, what? Oh. As soon as I stop paying attention, it's gone. But I mean, again, I just don't. It's cost me my family. It's cost me, in some respects, lots of aspects of my marriage. It's cost me my friends. It's cost me my feed, my lack of my censorship ability, whatever. It's cost me everything to learn the truth and the facts. Like, everything I learn is what I'm supposed to know. I don't go looking in places like conspiracy theory places and all that. I read what I'm supposed to read. I read the news that I'm supposed to read. I everything I'm supposed to do.
Your critical thinking skills are higher than the average. So you're not going to get the same message that the average intelligence person gets.
No, I get that. But for fucking why? Why? What good does that do me? Why? Not only is it, why is it this way, but why is it this way in this regard? Why am I not some critical thinker architect who makes the best buildings in the world? Why am I not something that can benefit me instead of essentially destroying me? It's a really frustrating thing, and to especially to be with somebody who is not enamored with me and not, doesn't see me as that guy like that. You just see me as the doofus who you need to speak up for at the tolls. Like, you know, not only it's not like you go, yeah, well, he might be all that, but his wife worships him and they sure get along well. Like that doesn't even happen. You and I disagree on, it seems like, most of it. And again, it turns into a situation where you're not willing to talk about it with me. Where I'm willing to talk about it, you're not. So what good does that get me? It doesn't lead to any understanding. It doesn't lead to any sort of closeness or anything like that. It just leads to negativity. What good does that do? I guess it helped me when it came to video games, because I was really good at video games. Too bad I wasn't fucking smart enough to go in that direction. No, I gotta be like the Jews are the bad guys guy. Why? I fucking hate it, man. I try to go in other directions. I try to do all of it, but you know, like if you see me when I'm doing my Wikipedia stuff, I'll read something until I get to one of those blue blue words that will take me to a previous, like, if the thing goes to 1855, I'm going to read till I find that part that goes, hey, this is 1854 in earlier. Oh, well, here, let's see where it goes here. Or let's find out what this means. And let's find, and as you keep jumping, eventually you start getting to the same things over and over again. The same people, the same names, the same situations. And it's like, well, how does that all work? If it really is all just random and it's all the way it's supposed to be, then that shouldn't work that way over and over again. Once or twice, yeah, okay, coincidence, but once you start getting into multiple times, it's something else. And why do I have to see that? Why can't I just be like, you're right, sweetheart. The stars and retrogrades and all that stuff is it. We'll both get into it. It'll make us better. We'll it all makes sense. And now if we both believe it, we'll be able to, all the fighting and all the stupid stuff that we do, we won't do that anymore. So if I just believe what you believe, then everything will be fine. Why can't it just be that way? Why do I have to see it and be like, yeah, what about this? What about that? And then the person I happen to be with isn't somebody that does, like Karen would welcome the questions. You don't want the questions. Instead of looking at it as like, oh, you're asking questions, so this is an opportunity to try to help you understand it, you just get mad. That seems so fucking backwards. At the same time, why am I not with somebody who's like, yeah, that is weird. How does that shit work? Because we would both be better and happier if we each had one of those. It's simple. I mean, it's not there. Yes, opposites can complement each other in certain ways. But when you're talking about on these fundamental levels, they don't. They absolutely don't complement each other. And it creates a lot of division and hurt feelings and all that other kind of shit. That how does it get better, especially if you're not even willing to talk about it?
She's gonna come forward with her story. She wants to encourage other victims to speak out.
Exactly. I just don't get it, man. You know, everywhere you go, everything you see, you watch. I watched this documentary on PBS. It was probably the best music documentary I've ever seen. It was a long, multi-part series. Can't remember what it was called, but it was just amazing. PBS.
So, what was the subject?
Music.
Like the history of?
Yeah, just all aspects of it. It was they had multiple episodes. Some episodes were about rap. Some episodes were about country. Some episodes were about rock and the history of. And I think it was Ken Burns did it. But every single person on there was talking about wanting something different. They're always looking for something different, not looking for the same old cookie cutter thing. And yet every single one of them puts out the same old cookie cutter thing.
I'm so sorry.
Every new artist they sign, same old cookie cutter artist. Safe. Everything's so safe. I literally had one of those guys, I reached out to him and we started talking. And he actually liked what we did. And he was going to take my shit to, he had a meeting. He was like, I'm going to meet with a guy in a couple of days and I'm going to take him your stuff. I think he'd really like it. We'll see what happens from that. And the morning he was going to go, New York got this super freak snowstorm. It was that, I don't remember which one, or maybe it was the hurricane. Yeah, it was the hurricane that actually happened. That hurricane that fucked New York up a couple of years ago. Yeah, that happened. And it completely derailed him going, and he had to deal with a bunch of shit because of it, and all this stuff happened. He was gonna take my stuff to the guy that day, and a hurricane happened. A freak hurricane in New York happened.
How comfortable is that sofa?
That's been the narrative the whole time. That's been the struggle. How do you fight against that?
You could get me another cup of that grade A primo java.
I mean, it's the weirdest shit, man. I'm the bad guy. That guy's an asshole. Why? I don't know. He just is. He comes across like he just knows everything, and then that makes me an asshole. Because I know stuff. Okay. It's so funny because people will be like, you talk, it's the way you, Angela says it all the time, it's the way you present it. You're always, talking down. I'm never talking down to people. I'm sorry if those people, like, I'm not going to dumb myself down to talk to you. I'm going to not say words wrong and, start saying gots and all that shit just because you're so dumb you say it.
Even the tone that you just said that. Like, you don't realize it. But the tone that you just said that one sentence is like a really, like, insulting, demeaning type of tone.
It should be. If you're saying gots, that's fucking stupid. And if you're dumb enough to say gots, I'm not going to take anything that you have to say nearly as seriously. Maybe if you're trying to tell me about how to paint a street or something like that, or you want to tell me how to clean toilets, then yeah, you might have me on that. But if you're saying gots and you want to argue with me about, the Bible gots to make more sense, I'm sorry. Right there, you're losing me. Everybody that loves talking shit in the comments. If your comment is why you are an idiot, or why you are stupid or something like that, immediately you lose. And then you want to pretend like I'm the bad guy because I pointed out to you. You mean YOU apostrophe RE, right? Because it's not like it's easier to do the YOUR. Your phone gives you both options. You literally choose to correct. And actually, your phone will probably have a green line underneath it, letting you know that you're getting it wrong. You're just either too dumb to realize it or too lazy. I mean, I really don't know. I don't see how you can be that lazy. Being lazy is one thing. When laziness turns into stupidity, I don't get it. Like, I'm lazy, don't get me wrong.
WELL.
I'm not sitting here acting like I'm the busiest person in the world. I wish I wasn't as lazy as I am. But laziness and stupidity are different. You can't say, "Oh, I'm just lazy, so I picked the wrong your." That doesn't fly.
You know what? The flowers are dead. You know who murdered those flowers? Romance.
And if we're in a conversation about essentially who's smarter, who's making the better points. If you can't spell your words correct, I don't even look at, like, I don't even know what you say. That's improper grammar, isn't? What is it when somebody uses the wrong there? It's not grammar.
Yeah, it is.
You're using the wrong word.
Vernacular. I don't know.
Yeah, it's not grammar. It's not like you're.
Well, grammar isn't only punctuation. Grammar also includes spelling. So yes.
But you're not spelling it wrong. That's the point.
Well, you are because it's the wrong.
No,
there.
you're spelling it right. You're spelling your correctly. You're using the wrong word, which is not a grammatical error. That's a stupidity error. No, seriously.
Just because you don't know how to spell it.
No, that is unacceptable as an adult. If you are an adult and you can't figure that out, I'm not.
You didn't have a good teacher.
Teachers, many teachers, and I guarantee many teachers tried to correct you, and your phone corrects you. Your phone lets you know that you're an idiot.
My phone changes FOR to FIR every time I type it.
Okay, but that's wrong.
Right. It does that shit to me all the time, so I don't trust my phone.
Right,
My
but
phone's a stupid phone.
but if you were to type the wrong "you're" in, it's gonna give you the green line under
If
it.
you go test the 12th graders in that school down the street, I guarantee you might have 5 of them that do the right "you're" in there.
And not a single one of them is somebody I'm gonna listen to as being smarter than me.
A whole school of teachers that do not fix it.
Right. But as an adult,
after class.
but as an
after
adult,
class.
as an adult,
Who's gonna teach you?
Helen may not like this, especially if they send in some blue flame outsider.
you.
A lot easier for him to accept you in the position.
Adults, they don't teach. They insult. You're using the wrong there.
Okay.
They insult.
Okay. So if somebody insults you, you either learn from it or you get your feelings hurt. But which one's going to benefit you? If you're like, somebody can't insult you for doing it correctly. Oh, good job using the right "your." Thank you. Like, you're not gonna. Okay. Ouch. Thank you. Like, that's never gonna happen. You can only be insulted by someone who's speaking some level of truth to you. You know, if you don't think you're ugly, nobody can make you think you're ugly. You might be ugly to them, but who gives a shit? They might like little Jewish guys for all you know. Who the fuck, you know?
Oh my goodness, it's so funny. Like, when you look at that, and like our old neighbors in Birmingham, Kendra and Adam, like, she used to talk about how attractive Adam was. And I'd be looking at him, like trying to see what she is seeing.
His big giant head.
His 5 foot tall body,
Right.
hair
His
that's
bank
even
account?
bigger than his head.
Right, his huge pompadour. Well, it wasn't a pompadour.
Tiny penis because his hands were microscopic. Like, I just, but to her, he looked good. I mean, that just like the girls that, you know, are infatuated with pink. It makes me want to vomit. You know, but people have different tastes, and it's just fascinating to me. Yes, pink makes me want to vomit. I don't know. Maybe it's the early childhood association with Pepto Bismol. I don't know, but I didn't even like pink back then. Never liked pink. Whenever we had, you know, a choice of colors, my mom never got blue and pink for my brother and I. She just didn't. She knew I wanted blue or purple or dark green or black. She knew I liked black. But yes, it's fascinating to see. Just like, you know, last night, my husband made hamburgers at home and, well, veggie burgers, but still. And he tried something new. He pickled onions, sliced onions, and then put them on the burger. Now, I thought they were delicious to the point where I was like picking them off the kids' plates and eating them by themselves, which is strange because I don't like pickled stuff. But I thought they were really good. Now, my youngest son, who is pretty worldly when it comes to trying things,
Likes fucking onions.
he loves onions. He could not, to the point where he didn't even want to eat the burger. He could not stand the taste. And I'm just looking at him like, that's so fucking weird. Like, I'm putting this same thing in my mouth and it tastes good to me, but to you, it just tastes awful.
I mean, girls eat nasty shit, but
Just fascinating how much our tastes can vary, whether it's how something looks, how something tastes, how it smells.
with that in mind, for you to then get upset because somebody quote insults you is just foolish. The only way you can be insulted is if it's true.
Intelligence is where people, that's where it starts getting touchy-feely. I don't care if you insult the fact that I like purple over pink. Go ahead, insult it all you want. But so you start insulting intelligence.
No. People will get mad about the purple over pink thing. But see, that's just it. Like, if every day, I've said this before, but if every day I made videos showing my progression, where you could go back and look at 5 years ago where I first just started working on dribbling drills and I could only dribble with my right hand and, you know, I could make a layup and whatever. And every day I set up the camera and for 2-3 hours every day, you watched me practice basketball and you know, inevitably get better. I'm good. If I'm doing it 2-3 hours every day, I'm going to get better. So to the point where 5 years later, I'm saying I am better at basketball than anybody watching me. That's not arrogance. That's well-deserved, well-earned confidence. Now, the person that's watching, unless they're a professional athlete or there's someone who's doing something comparable, if it was me watching and I thought, oh, that's bullshit, I could probably beat that guy, that is arrogance. That is unnecessary, undeserved arrogance. But there are going to be plenty of people who would get it. You arrogant. You think you can beat anybody in basketball? You think you're so good at basketball just because you do the live feed every day? You're not that good. Nah. There's always going to be those haters. But when we look at it from the same perspective, you know, there's going to be a lot more people that would say, yeah, dude, you're going to crush me. I've seen you play a bunch of times. I've watched you progress. You're going to crush me. Most people aren't going to have nearly as much problem with it as they would if I were to say, well, I'm smarter than you are. At least when it comes to certain things. Now, I'm not stupid. If you
So
were,
if you
if
preface that same sentence with, when it comes to this, I'm a lot smarter than you. I'm a lot smarter than most people.
they're still gonna get
That's
upset.
not as that's nowhere near as offensive
They're
as,
still gonna
well,
get
I'm
upset.
smarter than you.
They're still gonna
Well,
get
when
upset.
at least when it comes to that, you know.
They're still gonna get upset. But I you know, when it comes to, if you're a tax person, if you're, you know, you're an accountant, I'm not arrogant enough to think that I'm probably better at accounting than you are. Not at all. When it comes to the way the world works, and the conspiracy and the war and all that stuff, the presidency, and I'm confident saying I think I probably have done more than you have as far as research goes. And it's probably been a wider range of things. And I'm confident that I'm smarter than you. That's not me insulting you. The only way that's insulting you is if you have an insulting opinion of me. People just don't realize that's what's happening. I'm not insulting you saying I'm smarter than you. How is that insulting you? Unless you think I'm a piece of shit. If Albert Einstein says he's smarter than you, you're not going to be like, oh, what the fuck? But when you look at me and you know, especially someone like Ange, who the opinion she has of me, for me to say I'm smarter than her, she's not okay with that. And I'm not smarter than her in a lot of shit. A lot of shit. Like, a lot of shit. She's smarter than me. But there are several things where I'm way smarter than she is. And at the same time, I think my willingness to be wrong is what separates me from most of you. When I say I'm smarter than you, it's because I'm smart enough to know I could be wrong. And I'm willing to have the conversation to figure it out. And so when I say I'm smarter than you, that's what I mean. That's what it comes down to. I think, yeah, I'm smarter than you when it comes to Israel and all that stuff, but I'm smarter than you because I'm willing to be wrong. The smartest man realizes he doesn't know shit. So, you know, let's have it. Like, it's actually really simple. And if that insults you, that says a lot about you. It says a lot about you, and it says a lot about how you see me. But this is that level of intelligence that most people aren't on. They can't understand that. They can't separate the two. They can't separate somebody insulting the thing that they believe in and not them. I'm sorry, the thing you believe in is shit. It's born from shit. It's a shitty thing, and it has shitty tenets to it. If it didn't, I wouldn't be able to point them out. So for you to get mad at me over it seems a little displaced, don't you think? Misplaced anger.
By making sure people understand what we're doing to the Aina.
But see, that's again, it's like my wife does this to me a lot. When our neighbor used to come over and she'd figure out something that she didn't like about us that wasn't up to her standards, or that Angela complained about, so she was going to fix it. She would come over here in her judgment. I'm not making it sound anything. You are making it. No, you see it the way that you're programmed to see it.
No, I'm seeing it how it happened.
If I went over,
mommy instinct would kick in.
If I went over to her house and I was like, you know, your health would probably be a lot better. The health you complain about if you actually cleaned up your house a little bit. Because I'm sure that the smells and all the stuff that's floating around in the air is probably not very good for you. That's going to be just, oh, how dare you? How dare you? But you were complaining about your health. I'm just trying to help. I wasn't trying to be I was just telling you, like, you know, you complain about your loneliness and how, you know, you're lonely. And
There, the difference there is one, you're a pig versus open your heart to Jesus.
okay, well, one is fantasy and one is real. It again, if you weren't a pig, then I couldn't say it and bother you. I couldn't walk into your mom's house and be like, well, maybe it's because this house is so filthy. Not happening. You know, your health would be better if you actually cleaned your house. That's not a thing at Yaya's house. So it's just like anything else. The only reason you get insulted is because it's real. So when this broad comes over and she is insulting, she is, well, I think you would be better off if you did this. First of all, it's like, well, how has that helped you? But secondly, like, if you're going to engage me in I'm not engaging you. I'm not going over to your house to be like, okay, how about this? If you're going to engage in the conversation, it is insulting for me to be like, well, my wife says you're not smart enough, you're not capable to handle this, so I'm just going to sit here and be quiet. Doo-doo. No, I'm going to treat you like I would a human being and talk to you as normally and naturally as I would anyone else. You engaged the conversation, so okay, let's talk about it.
She was coming at us from a place of love.
So am I.
You responded with venom.
I'm not responding with venom. I'm responding with just as much love, if not more. I am trying to.
In your voice.
You're crazy. You're crazy. See, when you choose to view me the way that you do, that's what it's absolutely it. Everything I do and say is wrong, and how I say it and all that. Sometimes the things that you say aren't going to be sweet and all that stuff. And two, when you know somebody and you know the way somebody speaks, that's you know what you're doing. It's literally, we had this yesterday or the day before. No, yesterday, where I asked her for something. Hey, we're going to do this. And she says, well, when I'm done with this and when I do this. And every time she says it with attitude. Like I'm asking her to stop what you're doing and get up right now and go do the thing I just asked for. And every single time I go, yeah, I know you're not going to stop what you're doing. I'm asking, like, are we going to, like, I'm not asking you to stop what you're doing. But I've literally had to say this now for almost 20 years. Because for almost 20 years, she chooses to look at it and insist that I'm saying, drop what you're doing and do what I say because I'm the man and you're the woman and I don't respect you and blah, blah, blah. All this other bullshit. When you choose to look at somebody the way that you choose to look at me, you'll see things the way you do. That I'm with venom and all this other bullshit. There's no venom there. And at the same time, you're coming at me, insulting me and mine.
She wasn't trying to insult.
She absolutely is. She absolutely is. She is sitting in her judgment of us because we don't do things the right way. And if we just did things like her, if we just accepted Jesus into our lives, then all of these real life problems we have will just magically go away. She was a fucking idiot. But she was an adult, and she was capable of having a conversation on her own and getting into it, and she didn't need another adult who's much younger than her to come to her rescue because her husband was, in her eyes, being too mean. I can't tell you how many times it's happened where Angela has thought I was being too mean, and the other person was like, no, he's fine, I'm not saying anything. What are you talking about? He didn't say anything.
I don't ever remember somebody saying that.
Okay, of course you don't. That doesn't surprise me.
And I've also included a chart
Most people take my side one time and they learn their lesson. But I'm just making that up, so no sense in making up more shit. Like I say, this is, if you can tell me how talking about everything and being open and honest is the wrong thing to do, I'm all ears. That's all this ever comes down to. It doesn't matter what it is. If you're gonna be insulted by something said, can we get to the bottom of what that is? Was I insulting you, or are you insulted by the thing that's being said because you believe the insulting thing? You know, there are things like, there are so many things. There are things I wish I could talk about, but I can't. But like, I mean, again, I'm sitting here constantly trying to figure these kinds of things out. Like, what can I do to make it better? How can we make it better? Is there a different way to do it to make it better? What can I do to clean my basement? How can I clean my basement? Well, I could clean my basement. I could just clean it. Or I could clean it tomorrow again. Or I could pray that it gets cleaned. Or I could check the star charts and see if there's a day for it. All these things. And when I lay out all of the options, to me, what makes the most sense is that I go clean my basement. It seems like of all of the there's only one thing that seems to be, well, two things that seem to be real. The one thing that's real is I could do it. The other thing that's real is I could do it tomorrow. But I could always do it tomorrow. So, if you could tell me how there's a negative to me cleaning my basement, I'd love to know what that is. Why shouldn't I clean my basement? Is there a reason? And if you have a reason and you can explain to me what it is, and it's a better reason than I have for we should clean it, then we'll go with not cleaning it. If you have a better reason, then explain yourself. I don't understand why. I don't understand why I think this way. Right? Because I guess it's the wrong way to think, right? It's the wrong way to think that we should, if you're in a situation with anybody and you both it's like, hey, what do you want to eat? Well, I don't know. What do you want to eat? Well, I've been really craving tacos lately. Hey, you know what? Tacos sound good. Let's go do that. Or, oh man, sorry, I can't. I'm allergic to Mexican food for whatever reason. Okay, well, now that I know that you're allergic to Mexican food, I won't ever bring up let's go get tacos again. How about something else? And we can figure out what we want to eat if we just talk about it. Why is that such a crazy way of doing things? And why can't we apply that same way of doing things to everything? Doesn't that seem like that would be a much better way to do things? Hey, which one do you want to pick as president? Well, I'm thinking of going this way. Oh, why do you think you're going this way? Oh, well, this person does this, and this. Oh, well, I think this person does this, and this. Which one do you think is better? Which one has a better list of good things as opposed to bad things? Well, if we just look at the good things, it's this. But if we look at the bad things too, it's this. And we could just figure it out. What the fuck is wrong with that? How do we want to live our lives? Do we want to live our lives where we're going to pray to Jesus? All right, well, here's some of the pros and cons and blah, blah, blah. Are we going to live our lives like we're going to live by the stars and the birth charts and shit? Okay, well, here's this, and this. Are we going to live our lives as Muslims? Okay, well, there's this, and this. Are we going to live our lives the weird guy way where we just sort of talk about things and take responsibility for things? Well, there's this. Like, why don't we lay all those things out and try to figure out which one's better? Please, if somebody can tell me what a better way to do it is, I'm all ears. What's the best way? If you can tell me why the stars is the best way, tell me. If you can tell me why voodoo is the best way, tell me. If you can tell me why Christianity is the best way, tell me. Sure would be nice to go the Judaism route, but that's some ugly, weird shit. You know, this is that stuff where it just seems like, I don't know, I can't figure out what I'm doing wrong. I can't figure out why I'm this way and what I'm doing wrong in the process. And if anybody can help me with this, I'm all ears. You know, my wife, she's with me all the time. She hears me say these things. She doesn't have any answers for me. I don't know what to do. You know, my wife is quite the opposite, actually. So that makes it even more difficult. If you cannot, what I'd like you to do is tell me how I can. It seems weird, and I hate saying it, and I'm sure anybody that hears it's going to be insulted by it, but can you tell me how to go backwards? Because I feel like I've gone too far. And like I've you know, I've seen too much, and now I don't want to see it. I can't enjoy my steak anymore. I just want to go back to the red pill. I'd like to take whatever red pill my wife takes, so I can be on that level, and then we can just be happy. Because it seems like it would be so much better if I just, instead of worrying about the happiness of the world, I could just worry about the happiness of my house, and however way would make my wife happy, we could do it that way. I'm not even sure what that is, but whatever red pill I could take that would make me into who she'd want me to be, I wish I could do that, because this sucks.
What variety? Chardonnay. Chardonnay, also it's a buttery, oaky. We age them in oak.
You know? What's the point of what's the point of any of it? If it's not working, if it's not leading to happiness, what's the point? If I could take the red pill and all of a sudden all these shitty shows on Ion about cops being superheroes were good shows, I'd do it. I hate these fucking shows. This is the only thing, literally the only thing my wife wants to watch. And it creates such a weird, shitty dynamic that it bothers me. It doesn't really bother her because she gets her way. But it bothers me because I'm the one that's compromised. So how do I not be compromised by it? How do I make myself like these shows? Please, somebody tell me. Is there some sort of red pill I can take for that? Is there some sort of lobotomizing surgery or something that can be done that will fix all this? Because it's fucking miserable, man. It's fucking miserable. Anyway, I don't know what to tell you guys. Like, I wish I could figure this out.
Probably went viral. Wasn't me. I'm guessing
I feel like
people that Jen Bios has sent to.
I feel like I'm the best person I can be. I feel like if people were more like me, the world would be a better place.
Is he okay?
But when I look at the way my life is, and I look at the response I get from my wife and the response I get from my family and stuff, clearly I'm not a good person. Clearly I'm not somebody that these people like. And so it's like how do you go from I'm a person I like, I'm a person I want to be. It's taken me a long time to get to be this person, and through lots of education and you know, lots of loss. Lots of loss has led to this person. And I like, again, I think if everybody cared about the Palestinians, regardless of whether you're Palestinian or not, things would be better. If everybody was willing to look at Israel and all that more honestly, the world would be better. But that makes me the pariah. And it doesn't even make me a hero amongst the Palestinian people, because most of them are religious in some way. Or the Palestinian supporting people, because most of them are, you can't say that. And it's like, how do I fix this? How do you get to the point where you fit in with the people that matter to you? Or at least are supposed to matter to you?
It's like Dr. Winchester's office was right. She's working from home today.
I don't know. The person I'm stuck hanging out with all the time. Yeah. Leah Bia! You are a good guy. No, I think I am, but I'm not appreciated by those that matter to me. You know? My wife doesn't see me and go, man, you sure are awesome. The world needs to hear what you're saying. How can I help? You know? Like, that's not how that works. And so, like, that's what I need, or at least someone in my shoes needs. And and I don't need that from the world. I need that from the Rock, And to not have that from the Rock means, like, well, what do you do to get that? It's a strange feeling. How do you do that? How do I regress to a point where my family will like me again? My wife will like me. My friends will like. How do again, I need some sort of like electrical device around my neck that every time I'm going to say something that I'm not allowed to say, then I get a little shock. Instead of finding a bunch, because it's too late. It's not like I can find somebody that likes me for me. I got to make the best of the situation I have. So how do I do that? How do I stop being the person I've tried really hard to be? I don't know. And again, somebody I'm proud of. I'm so proud of my anti-Semitism. I can't tell you. I am so proud of that. And to then sit here and be like, no, guy, you're not supposed to say that. You're not supposed to say that. Don't say you're proud of yourself. Don't say, hey, I've worked really hard to get here. I've learned a lot. I've made the best of myself. Like, don't say those things. Just put your head down and shut up, guy. What you're saying makes people uncomfortable. Like, and in that vein, like, what the fuck was the last 45 years for then? If that's who if that's who I end up having to be, if I have to change who I am as a person and become somebody I'm not proud of, then what the fuck has the point been this whole time? Hmm? What was the point of all this?
The kids can't just sell it to pay for my funeral. It's a good thing you have life insurance. Life
I'm
insurance.
supposed to not be proud of who I am?
Don't you know about Colonial Penn? It's guaranteed acceptance, whole life insurance with no medical questions asked. I'm on a fixed income. Who is it?
I don't know what to do.
We all do. John, Maria, even Paul with all of his medical problems.
Nope. Just get out there and vote. Never mind all of the Israel Jewish stuff. But I know that stuff. And that stuff is important. Yeah, but so don't talk about it. Like that makes other people uncomfortable. Just get out there and vote. They can shove their Trump flags in your face and Kamala commercials and Trump commercials can be on and all that shit. But you can't talk about your part because your part makes people uncomfortable. We do need more people like you. Well, again, I don't have like.
How did you apply? Called for information, got an application, filled it out, sent it back.
If
And look at this. They sent a beneficiary letter just for calling. I filled
if that's how I made my wife feel, if that's how I made my family feel, that's what's supposed to matter, right? It's not supposed to matter. And you know what's crazy too? My kids are proud of me. My kids are proud of their dad that they know is saying the right things. And even though it works against me, I'm still saying it and not going the easy route. How do I not be that guy to them? You know, especially, but at the same time, I know that, like, I don't want them saying what I say. They're going to get in trouble. They're not going to be, I don't want them living my life. I don't know. Maybe because they have me and they've had more freedom and all that stuff and more encouragement, they won't put themselves in the same position I put myself in and being this person. They'll always have me. If they turn out like me, they'll always have me supporting them. And maybe with that, they'll find somebody that supports them to link to. And, you know, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. It's strange. I don't know where to go from here. You know, part of me wants to quit so I can just quit and live that normal life and all that stuff. But I know as well as everybody in my house knows if I don't let this out, I get real grumpy real quick. And of course, I mean, I'm holding in a whole bunch of negativity. And if I'm not letting out all of that negativity, it's staying within me. And everybody that's anybody knows you can't hold on to negativity like that. Casper was shunned and made fun of at work in the beginning of COVID for not masking and not vaccinating. He'd be proud. But Casper has you there supporting him. Casper can fight the fight out in the world because he comes home to somebody who's like, nah, I got you. That's different. Who Casper is inspires you to want to support him and fight alongside him. And I don't do that. So it's different. I don't know. Talk about hell, man. Talk about hell. Living in a life that you feel is right, but or living in a way that you feel is right, but life doesn't condone it, so it makes your life harder. Strange. It's like gay guys that have to live in the closet, you know? Like, it's got to be a horrible life. I always thought that was hell. I can't imagine. We were talking about it last night. We were watching Love Boat, and there was a guy on there who, and she was talking about somebody she knew as well, who had lived a quote normal life, you know, gotten married, had kids, and then when his kids were like 16, he finally came out of the closet and was like, I'm gay now. And my thought is like, I always think about it like, reverse it. If for some reason I had to pretend to be gay to the point where I I mean, it made gay babies. I don't know how you make gay babies, but like to go full on marriage sex where you're having every sort of sex you have and all the oral and whatever, however that goes, like how would I could I ever pretend my way through a gay relationship? How the fuck could I do that? And you hear these stories, you see these stories where it happens. Like we all know somebody where the guy is super effeminate and everybody thinks he's gay, and like, and then of course he ends up being gay years down the line, and the woman's all, "Wah." It's like, you didn't know he was gay. Everybody else knew he was gay. That's got to be such a hell situation for everyone involved. I feel so bad for somebody that's gay and has to pretend their way through heterosexual sex. That's got to be fucking awful. But that's my life, right? My life is seeing this truth and having to pretend my way through a fucking untruth relationship world. You know, I have to play along and pretend I don't see the truth and not talk about the Jews and all that stuff just so I can be okay. So I'm not threatening enough, and I'm allowed to have friends, and I'm allowed to have family, and I'm, such a weird fucking thing. But how does that work, man? How does somebody with a gay dude, like, doesn't him always wanting to put it in your butt kind of give away? But somebody that's got like all the mannerisms and stuff, like, what did you find attractive to begin with? Why would you be attracted to a gay guy? Most gay guys don't pull off that I'm not a gay guy thing. There's always little bits that they give out, especially when they get drunk. It's confusing. But it's it's weird. We live in this world with so many options and so many differences and all that stuff. But when you strip everything back and you strip it all down, it's all basically the same. Everything basically works the same way. And so much of it is based on our willingness to be honest and willingness to be wrong and willingness to see things differently. Because at the end of the day, you literally don't know anything other than the very small bubble you live in. Everything else is just told to you in some way, shape, or form. And it depends on the relationships you have and how well you trust those people that you're in relationships with, that you hear their little narratives coming through and you decide on whether or not you want to believe what they say, knowing who they are. Yeah, well, that's that guy. He lies all the time anyway. Or, oh, that's my friend Susie Q, who she's like a fucking a video recorder, and everything she says is always just exactly as true as it is. Like, and even then, you still know you're only getting Susie Q's perspective. And it's like at the end of the day, you really only know what you experience, the reality of your life. And for me, that's eye opening. You know, understanding that everything that's on TV is probably there on purpose. Is there on purpose? Somebody decides to put it there. Whether it's breaking news or not, it's still there because somebody decided to cover it. You know, it's the reality that we live in is virtually unknown to the majority of us.
It protects you, your identity and privacy.
You know, you live through the television, you live through Facebook, you exist in your world, but you live through stories, you know, vicariously through everything else, through strangers most of the time, and then you believe these strangers, and it's strange. You know, when it comes to the whole, like, this is one of those points where I'm surprised my wife doesn't actually get hung up on it, is when it comes to the whole astrology thing. Who came up with it? Who decided that Mercury being in retrograde was going to mean this affects this way? You know, that's always important to me. That was something that I said to the Jehovah's when they came. And when they were talking about the New Translation Bible that they used, I was like, well, who wrote that? Who did that? And they would say, oh, well, it was a group of elders. And I said, well, do you know the elders? And the guy was like, well, I know one of them. I was like, oh, you like you've hung out with them, you know them? But, well, no, but I've been to a place where they were at one time. And it's like, so you have no idea who these elders are, what their agenda is, what they're like in real life. You don't know anything about them, and yet they translated the Bible in a way that you just accept. That doesn't fire off any red flags for you. And it's this kind of like, this is how it is for everything with me. All I want to know is why and what, and it's not like, again, it's not like I'm being insulting to you by asking you, you know, well, like when you think about astrology, right? Basically, according to the narrative, that if one even exists, most narratives are that the beings that came down gave it to us. But if you can't go with that, it's sort of like some peasants out in a field sat there and mapped out the stars somehow. Like, who the fuck was doing this? Telescopes weren't invented until like 400 years ago or some shit. So who was mapping the stars? I mean, the zodiac and the stars and all that shit, that's basically always been here, and it's been here like across the world. So who came up with it? And then even more so, like with my wife, who believes in birth charts and all these things, it definitely makes more sense for that stuff to be real if you live in some sort of dome. But like, who came up with all of the different rules that are associated with this and that? And well, if Mercury is in the 70th degree, then it means this, but if it's in the 55th degree, it means that. And if it's in conjunction with the moon and who decided that? And isn't that important to know? Isn't it important to know where the information came from? It just seems to me like that would be an important part of any conversation. If I was like, here, check out this. But see, that's something that it pisses people off every time. Right? Whenever somebody gives me a book or talks about a book or something, I always ask, well, hey, who published that book? And everybody always gets shitty. Like they know that question throws a wrench into things, but they want to act like I'm a dick for asking it. You know? Who publishes the book? Where does it all come from? It's super important to know that, especially if you know about how books get published. You know that the average goyim doesn't get to just take a manuscript to a publisher and the publisher's like, oh, well, here, let me publish your book and blah, blah. No. Average goyim has to get a publishing agent, which is typically a Jew. And if you get your publishing agent, then they, first of all, they can suggest any changes they want made. And if you don't want to make the changes, then they don't have to represent you. But then the publishing agent will present it to different publishing houses, who each house gets like 90 days or something like that they have exclusivity over it. So he's not allowed to shop it to anyone else while this one publishing company is trying to decide on whether they want to publish it or not. And so then if you do get published, if somebody does decide to publish it, now you have multiple hands that it goes through, and each one of those hands can say, hey, I don't like this part. Take this part out. Make this change. You never see an original manuscript getting published. It's always has multiple hands, have made edits and changed things and all that. And why do you think you've never read a book or seen a movie that had a Jewish bad guy? TV show, anything. The bad guys are never Jews. They're always Russians or Arabs. Because if you go to the Jewish publishing houses with the Jewish bad guy narrative, if you go to the publishing houses with the I Question the Holocaust narrative book, if you go to the publishing houses with the, any of that stuff that goes against the grain.
Top Hollywood Jews molesting me and have this huge ring where they molest all these young actors,
Yeah.
their kids.
They're not
They're
gonna
gonna shut you down.
You're not gonna get your book published. But see, when it comes to that, you're not even gonna get your publishing agent. You might get the publishing agent so they can lock it down and then it doesn't
Prevent it
right.
going anywhere, yeah.
But it's not. You're never gonna get anywhere. That's why those books don't exist. Or if they do, they're like random.
Obscure.
Right.
Some random, made 1,000 copies and they're, in some strange rare bookstore that nobody's heard of.
But
And the people that shop at those stores are not looking for those types of books anyhow.
I think it was towards the end of 2019, before COVID, out of the blue, a story pops up that is, we didn't hear about the trial, we didn't hear about the lead up. The part that makes the news is that the verdict has been found, has been levied, and that the guy who published the book questioning the legitimacy of Sandy Hook is going to be fined $100,000 and some other bullshit. And it was like, wow, you would think they would have told us about this trial coming up, and then we come to find out that not only is it one of the fathers from Sandy Hook, has teamed up with the father of the reporter who was supposedly killed on live TV, who we've never heard any sort of, remembrance of or whatever, anything. She was murdered during a live news broadcast, and that story has disappeared. Remember? She was supposedly killed by a black guy, but when you look at the video, it's clearly a white guy's hand. And she sees the guy walking up to him and everything. And do you guys remember that story where the chick got shot on TV? And they quickly went back to the original broadcast, and the girl was like, what was that? And then they just went on like nothing happened. Well, apparently her father and this fat guy from Sandy Hook, this dad. So the dad from Sandy. So when they would show the broadcast, they blurred his face and his name, but they would show his website, and on his website, it had the picture of him on it. So you could still see who it was, but he supposedly sued this guy, this random Idaho man, and the publishing house. Now, the publishing house was a part of the lawsuit until he changed his mind halfway through, the owner, and felt bad and sided with the other side. So suddenly, because he did that, he was no longer a part of the lawsuit, and now it was all solely against the guy that wrote the book.
Oh, I had to do that.
Yeah, sure you did.
No, I didn't.
Sure, that's fine. Yeah, the lady shot in the face. Right. So these two guys got together and sued the Sandy Hook book writer guy, and they won the case. And so they're interviewing the Sandy Hook dad, and he's saying that he's had to move 6 times because every time he does, he gets chased out of the neighborhood. And you think, is that how that works? Do you find out that somebody was involved in a tragic shooting and all of the neighbors turn against that person and chase them out of the neighborhood? Is that how that works in America? The whole narrative is just fucking stupid. And of course the whole thing disappeared after they didn't tell us about it leading up to it, and they didn't talk about it afterward, because it was just supposed to plant that you don't talk about conspiracy stuff because you could get sued for $100,000 narrative, seed. The Sandy Hook thing is one of the most brazen, one of the most obvious false flags they ever put on TV. If it weren't for Trump, the Trump shooting, it would probably take the cake. The Trump shooting is the fakest, most obvious false flag they've ever tried to pull off, or they ever pulled off. It really is the dumbest thing, and that's why they just don't talk. Look at everything. Look at how much investigation, reporting, and all that has gone into the last Trump shooting that didn't even happen. That wasn't even a shooting. The guy that was in the bushes. There's been so much coverage, so much everything. The actual shooting, shit was gone. It was gone. Trump comes out and says, okay, I'm going to talk about this one time and one time only. You know why he says that? Because he can't be relied on to remember the details the same way every time. So he says, well, I'm only going to talk about it this one time. And now he always has his excuse. I said I would only talk about it that one time, so that's all I'm going to do. It's such bullshit. It's such bullshit. It's tush mu bish. As Eminem said that one time. I still want to know where all the cell phone videos and live feeds from the event are. How did they do that? Seriously, how did they stop the live videos and all of the recordings from getting out? Where is that stuff? It just doesn't, Trump talking about tens of thousands of people at his rallies and stuff. Where are all the people that were undoubtedly walking around on their live feeds? Where are all the people that were filming him? You could see him in the video. And then there's all those videos of the shooter before the shooting happened.
Conflict is raging across the world, and millions of children's lives are being devastated by war, hunger, disease, and poverty. We urgently need your help to reach children.
Oh, yeah? You're going to go help the children in Palestine? Only 33 cents a day. Gotta love that little number, huh? Just works out. I'm on for much longer than I wanted to be. I appreciate you guys for being here.
Don't say anything, please. I don't want the family attacking me or you or anything. She's trying to prove that with autism comes all kinds of special needs. He has a hard time with textures of clothing on his skin. Sometimes.
Okay, well, you can't post those pictures. Those are, that's, you can't do that. You can see it.
And when he's at the park playing like that, you can see it.
Something is wrong here where, I don't remember growing up with the kid running around in his underwear at the park. I don't remember autistic kids being everywhere when I was a kid. What's going on, people?
The vaccines. The vaccines.
What is going on?
Babies up.
And that, she's wrong. I'm sorry, that's your child has a peanut allergy, so all the other kids can't have peanut butter and jelly kind of shit. No, you don't. Sorry. I'm sorry you have that burden, but you don't do that to everybody else.
That would be like I would have to, I get he doesn't have the comprehension. He is very severely autistic.
I get it, yeah.
Okay. So then you have to explain to him, okay, baby, if your clothes are not making you feel good today, then we can't go in public and make everybody feel uncomfortable.
Right. Like, that's what you have to do.
We can't go make you a target for the bad people in this world, because there are bad people in this world.
Oh, those pictures are already out there.
They're out there.
Yeah, they're going to be used and sold. And yep.
So that would be my take on it and my way to handle it, which is not going to be everybody's way.
That,
really.
and we say that having not been in the situation is, I can't imagine what her life is like.
Oh, it's so hard. I talk to her often and I follow all her posts, and she does a great job at trying to educate people about the difficulties of dealing with special needs children. It's not fucking easy. Her life is hell. It's hard.
And the thing is, that kid will die right around the time she does. And it's like this perfect little... So she can't be concerned with what's going on with Israel.
No. She's got hell
She
at
can't
home.
be concerned with anything.
And there is a large population of autistic children right now. So they're all
That's the point.
distracted.
That's why they're that way. They've created this thing. That's what the COVID vaccine was, just like the 1976 swine flu vaccine program, where they give the initial ingredients to the parents. And as those parents continue to have kids, once those kids come out and they combine them with the birth vaccines, it triggers something. It clearly triggers something.
And yet all these people are commenting, great job. I wish I could hang outside in my undies. Wow, you're an amazing mom.
Right.
I'm
I
proud
wish
of
I could hang
you.
outside in my undies, but you can't because it's illegal.
Living his best life with his best mom. There's a lot of people.
No,
supporting.
I get what they're saying, but let's all be realistic here.
Right.
You know? What about all the other people? What about the people that are with their kids and they pull up and they're like, "What the fuck?" You know? No. But see, so there's a special needs kid at my kid's school, and he's a really cool little kid, right? Like he's a cool kid, but what's
And I
kind
feel
of
let him go to
strange?
school in his underwear.
No, what's kind of strange is because of his special needs, he gets so much more leeway than everybody else does, and he knows it.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
smart enough to know that he can get away with stuff that other people can't. And
Because
so
he's sacrificing having love, sex, children.
no, I get that, but still because it there are times where it makes him bad.
Of course,
And-
it's his way of acting out. I mean,
But
he's
but
been in the same grade for a few years now. He's watching classmates move on to other grades, and
I'm
do
sure
other
he
things,
knows.
and
I'm sure he knows.
it's-
I'm sure he can look in the mirror and see that
of
something's
course.
different.
So did Aunt Patty.
Right.
She hated it, and she would act out on purpose, and she would say, I have nothing else to do.
You said detox that child. I'm pretty sure she does. She's real big into the diet and stuff, right?
Oh,
She
God,
doesn't give him
yeah.
bread and all that
No,
stuff.
she has over researched things, like she's been really diligent.
Jenny McCarthy is
She
somebody
hasn't
that
been
anybody
all-
that's dealing with
yeah.
an autistic child.
She follows Jenny McCarthy's work. She has him in all kinds of programs.
And Jenny McCarthy is so great because she has the money to be great.
Right.
She has the money to do the things you can't.
Access to the resources.
Right.
So yeah,
But
no,
again, it's not
there's-
autism. It's SOBA. It's vaccine damage. These are not autistic kids. Autism is something else.
Well, autism runs in her father's side of her family, really strong, and it runs in her son's father's side of it. It ran on both sides of his parents.
Yeah,
family,
but they've been giving vaccines for about a little over 100 years. So, and birth vaccines have been the mandatory since like the 50s or something.
Well, and because her mom has always worked in the medical community in some capacity.
I'm sure they got all their shots.
Yeah, he got all the shots.
It's really nuts, man. But see, it's weird because, like, if we have animals that come out compromised in that way, we don't let them continue. We definitely don't let them have babies. And you hear about these stories all the time where the people putting care of these people take advantage and get these women pregnant all the time, and it's like,
or put them in a home and don't watch closely enough, and the residents get each other pregnant.
Right.
Because they're just trying to have
because they're normal. There's normal parts to them.
Of course.
So we have a woman near us who they say one story, but I think she's probably vaccine compromised as well. Yeah. No. Yeah, I thought you were playing. Yeah. And so she is high functioning, but like like I mean,
She
dumb. She's
thinks-
dumb.
She
She's
thinks her disabilities are only learning disabilities, though. She doesn't realize.
right, but she's really dumb, and it's. I don't even know how to describe it. Like I'm not trying to be mean, but she's really dumb. Like can't read. You know, has a hard time speaking properly, even though like it's not like there's a speech impediment. She's just doesn't say it right.
Her brain doesn't hear
she
that
says
she's saying it wrong.
she's supposed to do things, and you know it's she's fun. We mess with her. We play with her. She's like a little sister, right? Yeah, she's been taken under the wing for a while now, but she's got the mentality of the mental capabilities of like a third grader, and yet she's a woman. So that woman part of her body still functions properly.
Well, she still has the hormones. The adult
Right.
hormones.
She has all the adult hormones and like I say, the womanly needs part. And so what it means is you have this dumb child putting herself in sexual positions that she absolutely shouldn't be in. And she had a kid, you know, she'd gotten pregnant. She got pregnant a bunch of times, and the state wouldn't let her mother get her tubes tied.
After 5 abortions.
It took 5 abortions and 1 successful pregnancy before the system finally let it happen. And the last one happened because she didn't want to deal with the morning sickness.
She was actually gonna try to keep that.
She was gonna do it, but she was uncomfortable with the morning sickness and was like, "Oh no, I don't want to deal with this." But she was gonna deal with a baby.
Until she gives that one up too.
Well, but the thing is, with her daughter got to be about 11, and the mental power dynamic was completely changed. Her daughter's looking at her like, why would I listen to anything you say? You're stupid.
And then when her daughter was about 15, she couldn't take it anymore, and she went and moved in with her.
But that's, you know,
Her great aunt.
What's the point? I don't know. It's a weird thing. Like, it's really hard to say.
Sister's house. That's weird.
Why, like, what would, if we stopped vaccinating, what would happen? Seriously.
Oh my God, there'd be an influx of disease.
Like, all that measles and mumps shit, that's all shit we just get through. And who's to say that's not, those aren't a result of something? You know, mumps could just be something that's a result of a vaccine. It sure seems that way. If you look into history and you look at the biggest outbreaks of hepatitis B, they're all associated with vaccines.
It could be a result of all the Tylenol that the pregnant mom took, and then you take one Tylenol for a headache or something, and all of a sudden it triggers an allergic reaction that causes that. We don't know. It could be a multitude of things.
Yeah. What they've done.
The goop they put in your eyeballs when you're first born.
All of that shit.
The amount of rubbing alcohol your body is exposed to, which is horrible for you, especially when you're first born, all your pores are open. Oh my God.
My dog having a same-day vax reaction woke me up.
Yep.
They haven't had any since puppies. They're now 15.
Yep.
My friend has unvaxxed 6-year-old twins. They're so smart and healthy. Right. And they don't have behavioral issues, and they don't have learning issues, and they don't get sick. And yep, I'm so mad that we did that.
Our Corso has never had a vaccine of any sort. And
But our kids.
oh no. He had 1 rabies for that first license for that.
Because you have to.
Because I had to. But he's healthier than healthy could be. The other dog that did have some vaccines when he was little, he's got health issues.
This whole thing is just... This whole thing is just crazy. I mean, I have kids. My kids are going to have kids. Hoping they're smart enough not to vaccinate their kids, but at some point I'm not going to... I can't control it, and I don't know who their wives are going to be.
There's a 50% of the equation that's absolutely, totally out of our control. That's the spouse.
And I don't know what I would do. I would lose my fucking mind.
You're going to have to prepare for it.
I know. I'm trying to figure out how to take the red pill, Ange. I'm trying to fix my marriage taking the red pill, let alone all the rest of it. That's going to be somebody I'm not proud of. How do I be somebody I'm not proud of by standing up for my grandchildren not getting vaccinated?
Well,
I mean, that's just...
boys.
I don't know.
You're going to have to live with that outcome too.
Right, the circumcision thing. No, I'm going to try my best.
You're going to the gas station.
See ya. Be safe. Anyway, I'm out too. You guys have a great day. I appreciate everybody being here, especially Leah. And everybody have a great day. Pedophiles, kill yourself.